Hello everyone and welcome to round 13 of the ARL F1 2012 Season 6 Championship. Today we are racing around the Suzuka circuit for the Japanese Grand Prix. I'm Matthew Gallagher and joining me once again is Scott Woodward.
Thank you very much, Matty. Good afternoon, everybody. Great feedback once again. And of course, as Matty said, we're here at Suzuka, one of F1 Racing's classic venues, the only circuit to feature a crossover and many daunting and famous corners such as 130R, a deck and curves, and a spoon curve right at the end of the circuit as well. This circuit is also a former Honda test track, very challenging, lots of sweeping corners as well, and also very high speed too. These guys love this circuit, and it's pretty sure it's going to be a fantastic spectacle once again, Matty.
Yeah, it's a great racetrack, especially with the Sector 1 being so twisty and tight, and then you've got the long straights and 130R, an absolutely classic corner. Season 5 podium, Noble 299 taking the victory from Turano Tigger and ACR Raven, a very competitive field back then. Noble also took the pole position. Let's see what happens this season for the Season 6 Japanese Grand Prix.
Welcome to the qualifying comparison here for the Japanese Grand Prix at the Suzuka circuit. We've got Noble 2909 and Fisi 91 on screen today, so let's see how they both go about their laps. Turn 1 is an ever tightening double apex right hander, slowing all the time as they progress through the corner before getting back on the power and heading down towards the SS section that makes up the rest of the first sector. So very important for the drivers to try and carry as much speed through these corners, but not too much that you end up compromising your exit for the next change of direction. A late apex and a wide entry are what's needed to get the most out of this first sector, as well as avoiding the grass that will hinder the car and driver massively with understeer. As they now come up and over the hill at the end of the first sector, and the split times will show us that Noble is a couple of tenths ahead at this point of the lap. Coming through the diagonal 1 and 2 now, very easy to lock an inside wheel here, but both drivers just about managing to avoid it. As they now come towards the hairpin, another place where locking up is a common sight, as the weight transfer from the right kink before braking for a left-hander means the front right is always on the limit of adhesion. But again, both drivers are avoiding any mistakes there, and they now travel down this very long right-hander. A good place for Kurz and DRS as they make sure to keep the car to the right of the circuit. As a double apex left-hander of spoon curve is now upon us, a variety of gears can be used here, either third and fourth for the first apex, or second or third for the second apex, but both drivers with the same technique through there as they now plummet down the hill on the other side, and now picking up massive speed on the run to the end of the second sector, as well as the glorious left-hander of 130R. Crossing the split now, and Noble extending the advantage to around 6 tenths as they now fly through 130R, closing DRS for a fraction of a second before opening it back up for the run to the chicane. Both drivers on the brakes very hard, but managing to avoid mistakes as they navigate their way through there nicely. DRS open for the run to the line, where Noble comes out on top by 7 tenths of a second. DRS open for the run to the line might look easier than it actually is, as here's Mazy getting caught out by the crest in the middle of the track on what would go on to be his fastest lap of the session.
Thank you very much, Harry Jacks, once again for that qualifying comparison. Now let's take a look at the grid for this afternoon's Japanese Grand Prix at Suzuka. It's pole once again for Noble 2909, and he takes it by half a second from the Sauber duo. Second place is TRL Limitless, who has now changed his name to TRL Monster, whilst third and on row 2 is F1 X360 in the second Sauber. He's joined on row 2 by Fisi 91 with a brilliant effort in the Marussia to qualify 4th. Row 3 sees the McLarens of Randy McScrandy and Trace B92, whilst row 4 sees two big guns down a little bit lower than we'd expect. 7th, Ricky C in the Caterham, not living up to his usual form of qualifying, but the big mistake in qualifying was from xMattyG. A poor final sector sees him down in 8th position, 1.2 seconds off teammate Noble's pole. Row 5 sees the second Caterham LC Speedium alongside the Scottish driver ACR Jordan in the Ferrari. His teammate, the Italian, the Contadins, the first of the hard tyre runners, is in 11th, with Ryan L83 in the second Marussia joining him on row 6. And row 7 sees SC Racing Team in the Williams and Mazy CZ back in 14th after that mistake that we saw right at the end of the qualifying comparison. Two non-starters today, Big Shot player in the Williams and Hyper-X Callum in the Force India. There's the grid, now let's head to the race.
It's round 13. It's the Japanese Grand Prix. It's clear weather once again, and it's xMattyG and RapidScorpion commentating for you today. A classic circuit, some very good drivers. This promises to be an excellent race, Scott.
Certainly does. We've got 14 cars lined up for 27 laps. The start is downhill, so this is going to make it all the more interesting. Here come the lights. Let's get ready for another showdown once again at Suzuka.
Bit of a mixed up grid today, so we've got Noble 299 on pole, probably the only not mix up. And we've now got 5 lights, and we're away with Fisi fan in 4th place, getting a reasonable start and keeping that 4th position and using a bit of curves as well, coming towards this medium speed right-hander. xMattyG now still in 8th position, looking at the inside of Ricky C. Ricky C now trying to go around the outside of Trace 92. Into the first sector we go. xMattyG still now a little bit side by side with Ricky C. Up the inside now, he's down into 2nd gear to get this acceleration. He's up into 7th now, looking behind Trace 92 in the McLaren.
Great start there, and that was a battle of psychological wit there. The 2 cars went side by side. Eventually Matty forced Ricky out of it, and that got him up 1 place. Now on board with Crookie behind now, the newly named ARL Monster, no longer limitless, as they fly through the Degner curves for the first time and under the overpass, the very unique overpass that we don't see in any other the Grand Prix. As back looking here, that's the 2 McLarens coming to contact once again. You've seen that before a couple of races ago, and Matty just watching here, sat back, see what's happening here. And they both go wide, and they come up the inside of both. And can he take them? Oh, xMattyG take a bow. That was one simply sensational move. It's not done just yet. Round the right-hander down towards the spoon curve. As he got the advantage, he's got the line momentum, and there's contact between the 2 cars. These 2 side by side down towards spoon curve, and Matty gets the pass done. That was a move of an absolute fantastic race for winners. So we're going to see that possibly again in a little while as they head up the straight down towards the 130R for the first time.
Yes, crucial for xMattyG, qualifying down in 8th position, not where he wanted to be at all. And he had to make those moves stick, and he's up into 5th place now, and maybe he'll be able to salvage a result from this race. Noble 299 still in 1st position from that pole position. A brilliant lap from him as Ryan 83 locks up into the final chicane, and he now may well come under pressure from Mazy CZ on the option tyres compared to Ryan's primes. He hasn't got any curves left, but he will have curves now coming over the line. He's using half of it, and he's stopped using it now, so maybe saving it towards the end of the lap, putting it down into standard. So maybe a good decision, because we don't want to see any dive bombs into turn 1 just yet from that far back. And we've now got a replay of lap 1 coming towards the first corner. We're on board with F1X Crookie, TRL Monster's teammate. A brilliant qualifying from Crookie as well, only 2 thousandths I think behind his teammate, and getting into turn 1 pretty safely, Scott.
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing the 2 Ferraris here almost going side by side as Jordan trying to send it up the inside of Speed Demon here into the first corner. And just about holding on. So we saw the xMattyG just in front, Speed Demon going side to side. This is SE Racing Team getting another punt on the first lap, this time from Mazy. So his initiation is still not done. Mazy gets to the 13th position through the Dunlop curve. And this is the move again. Now watch this. You see it takes the advantage. Randy runs wide, and then Tracy opens up the inside run. And already Matty's taken 1 McLaren and takes the second one at the spoon curve. I probably should have described that a little bit better when I originally said it, but nevertheless, great moves to take both cars. And as you said, very crucial on the first lap.
Yeah, because you can get held up an absolute treat round this track, as Mazy CZ is finding out with Ryan on those prime tyres, but Ryan's run wide onto the gravel out of Degner 2, and Mazy has gained a position. Looks like SC Racing Team looking very feisty indeed. Hits Ryan. Now Ryan isn't going to make contact with Mazy. He has, but I think Mazy's still going to maintain 12th, and if not, I think Ryan would have had to have given that position back, because it was quite feisty. And now we've got SC Racing Team trying to go around the outside, or inside now, coming towards the spoon curve. Mazy lagging a little bit. Side by side, looks like Ryan may well keep the position, but he's run wide now, sliding out onto the sort of runoff area, and SC Racing Team up into 13th, and Ryan unfortunately down to last.
Yeah, I think he's still trying to get a bit more rust out of his system. As Fisi fans, they've got Randy trying to go round the outside at 130R. They had to tighten that corner a few years ago because the cars were going simply too fast. Some very high-speed accidents. I believe one, though, I think it was Alan Wentnish, backed it into the tyres, a huge incident which forced him to remodel it. This is Fisi fan, that's how he lost out to Matty. That's another place he's taken in 2 laps. This is Fisi's view, just simply understeering wide across the AstroTurf. Small piece of contact, bit of tyre rubbing, but he's managed to get through. So Matty up to P4 now, and I think the rate he's going, he'll close the middle quite quickly.
Yeah, oh, Fisi's now under a bit of pressure now from Randy, and he's run wide onto the gravel. He's lost another 2 places, so Fisi down into 7th place now. His race, despite having such a great qualifying, his race is going down the pan very quickly indeed, and he's now got Ricky all over the back of him. xMattyG, however, had a terrible qualifying, and he is now making up for it in the race. He's right behind F1X Crookie, who made that mistake into the last chicane on the previous lap. So xMattyG almost looking at a podium spot, going to lap 3 and getting very close behind the Sauber, almost making contact, maybe a slight left tap, and Crookie's now made a mistake out of Degner 2. And xMattyG going around the outside. up into third, and Noble's made a mistake now. This is a very rare occasion, and now TRL Monster takes the lead in the Sauber.
Monster's definitely Monster Noble there with that move, as Crookie's there up his inside on the exit of the haircut. That's not Matty, in fact, so apologies. It's actually Randy McScrandy in the McLaren. So great stuff there to manage to get through. So obviously he lost 2 places in the space of 2 corners, and Crookie's trying to get back up the inside, but Randy's got the line covered as they exit back onto the back straight here, going basically the overpass, now crossing over as they go under towards the hairpin. That's just the overpass they go through, and Crookie's got the run down towards 130R. You're brave man if you could try and make a pass through there. We saw Randy trying to make it through, and oh, that's a great and gutsy move there from Crookie. And that might give the 2 McLarens a bit of combat behind him. And Crookie, I think, has gone a bit too deep again. He's done it for the second time. Traceby just missed the chicane completely as Randy tries to go around the outside onto the pit straight once more. He's got Bateau watching in front as Fisi's also coming on to attack from Ricky C. So much going on. It's only that 4, Matty.
Oh, is Fisi going to use some of his curse? He is just a teeny bit, and he's going to maybe... Oh gosh, I'm using such great vocabulary today, but he's managed to keep Ricky C in front of him into turn 1, so I don't think Fisi wants to be losing any more positions, because he showed in qualifying he had a great pace with a 31.7, only 7/10 behind Noble, who set a cracking lap. And we've now got ACR Jordan running a little bit wider. Mazy going around the outside. Is he going to make it stick? Yes, he's got the inside line now. Is Jordan going to be able to keep around the outside? No, he's not. Mazy up into 11th after that horrific accident or sort of slide out of the last corner on his qualifying lap. Putting him down into sort of, I think it was last place on the grid. And Fisi making another mistake. This is going terribly. It's only lap 4 and he's down into 9th. Is he going to make that 10th? No. Contadins being a bit wise to the fact that he may have made contact. And Mazy's now gone straight across, I think that was Fisi, and going straight into the gravel trap, completely missing his braking point. That hairpin is an absolute nightmare on the brakes, and Mazy has just shown why.
Well, what's intriguing about Fisi is, of course, he was in a similar position in P4 back in Germany. He managed to hold on it, had the potential to get a podium, and just missed out when Noble was starting to run out of fuel on the pit straight. Here, it's the exact reverse. He started high up through the grid and just started to fall back, which is a real shame to see. Here's the 2 Ferraris going into combat. That's Jordan with the RS, but Contadins using curves as well. And down into the first curve, gets it sorted out. This is the view from Mazy, up inside of both, and just, well, exit stage right for Mazy into the gravel. And very rare use of reverse gear in an F1 car. This is how Fisi saw it. Woof! Straight across the front of that, lucky not to remove his rear wing as well. I saw the Contadins trying to get up, make a move, as capitalise on that as well. Now Fisi's got trying to make his charge back up through the field, starting with Speed Demon. He has DRS, hasn't used any curves just yet. He's in the rich fuel mixture, but really one like you say. Although I say that, Speed Demon runs very wide through the first part of that corner, and Fisi just takes it as though he's been offered on a plate. So that was rather easy pickings. So he's now in a Caterham sandwich because he's got one behind him, and the next target is going to be Ricky C, who again is not running at the same kind of pace he has in the last few races, Matty.
No, I mean, Fisi fan, at least he's actually gained a position now, and he's back up into 8th, so that maybe will make him feel a little bit better about his race if he can now sort of start setting some consistent lap times. LC Speed Demon is not going to be setting anything consistent in the gravel, and he has lost a major chunk of places, down into 13th now, and Contadins now in 9th place in the Ferrari, following Fisi fan after losing that position. And Fisi, as I said, if he can start setting some consistently fast lap times, which he had, you know, he's shown the pace in qualifying, will be able to catch Ricky C. But Ricky C, not a particularly easy fella to catch, so it will be a challenge for him. But as I say that, he has got quite a bit of a gap to 7th place. And we've now got a replay of Ryan going around the outside of ACR Jordan making a mistake into Degner 2. So that seems like the place where a lot of drivers are making mistakes, Scott.
Well, there's only really one line you can take through there because it's such a narrow corner, but it's a fast one as well. So those guys really have to pick their line of how they go through there. If not, they see there's a huge bed of gravel on the outside of both those corners, so you can easily get speared off into it. So they have to be very, very cautious as to how they go through, but also attack it as hard as possible. So you have to kind of find the compromise between the 2 corners. Now battle for the lead though as Monster goes to the inside and defends, and Noble on pure straight line speed with DRS and Curse tries to sweep around the outside, but it hasn't worked. He's run too deep and locks the inside front, and Monster just sweeps back straight through to retain the lead as here comes SC Racing Team on the Contadins. That's for P9, and the rookie, only his 3rd race, has made that move stick a brilliant overtaking. Maybe it's possibly going to get him back on the exit of that corner. Not quite, because Williams holds firm as they head into the S's once again for the 6th time, and back with Noble through Dunlop curve into Rich Mix 3. So he's feeling racy today, wants to try and close in the gap as we now head to the back of the field battle between Speedium and Mazy. So battle's going on all the way through the field. This is certainly going to be a rather entertaining Grand Prix from what we've seen so far.
Yeah, you're saying that Noble's seeming quite racy today. I don't think he really, you know, when he seems racy, he makes more mistakes, and we don't usually see that from Noble. So we've seen a mistake, what was that, into the hairpin, where he locked up and lost the lead, and another mistake trying to go around the outside of Monster, but he is right on the back of him once again, coming towards the end of lap 7. xMattyG only 2.6 seconds behind now, so these two battling is enabling the Toro Rosso driver to catch on these front two, and we've now got Noble saving a whole bar of curves out of the final corner. He's showing that he has got the pace to keep up with Monster and not even use any curves around the lap, so he easily takes first position. No need to go around the outside this time, and we'll see that, yep, I think he pretty much took that first corner how he should, and not like he did on the previous lap.
First the front runners to pit, and that's actually in fact F1 X360 F1 League. Decent stop, 2.9 seconds. He bolts on the set of the hard compound tyres, and he's going to come back out just I think in front of Mazy. Here comes the Force India, and there's Crookie, not up to full speed. Seems that's now Crookie there exiting out in second to last, but of course he's on those fresh hard compound tyres, which we'll definitely see him catch up in a moment. But he's incredibly cold. You can see him slithering around looking for traction, but he's just not there until he gets them warmed up to the optimum temperature. Back into the midfield, this is Fisi trying to make his fight back through the field. So something going on in front, because we're closing to Ricky C. He's gone all the way, there's some lag happening there, so Ricky C have suffered from quite a lot of lag. A couple of lag spikes, he goes up the inside. We thought he was around him at Scranny, but of course he jumps back behind, so some connection problems for Ricky, but he's now battling with P5, that's around him at Scranny and the McLaren. Fisi fan just sitting back and watching here. Now, he's going to have to be careful not to get too close, because he could easily get caught up in any kind of incident which will be lag related, because Ricky's connection is a little bit dodgy at the moment.
Yeah, it's good driving from Fisi, because he was quite a few seconds behind Ricky, and now he's closed up, as I said, with his pace, and he's now back in the fight for some good points here this afternoon. So Fisi, I think, will be pretty relieved that he's been able to catch up to those lot with the McLarens and the Caterham in front of him, and he might well be coming into the pit sometime soon. Someone missing the chicane, is that a McLaren? It might be Trace Me 92. And oh my gosh, who's that gone into? Oh, it's Randy Muscrandy going straight into the pit wall. It looked like he was trying to get into the pits, and Ricky C also going into the pits. Caused Randy to go straight into the pit wall. I can't believe that's happened, but what has happened there, Scott?
Well, we said that, of course, Ricky C's lag was going to cause a bit of a dangerous accident if he wasn't careful. It's done just that. So really, I guess Ricky, I guess in some cases he wasn't really aware of it, possibly because he was just running his own race, but I'm sure the other cars around him will make it very clear that he was jumping all over the place because of his connections. You have to be very careful. Watching here, that's Monster just come out of the pits on his cold tyres, and Fisi all over Ryan, all over the back of the Sauber, and trying to go round the outside of the exit towards the Dunlop curve. He's going to try it as well, and that's a brilliant pass from Ryan. It's a rare chance we see him race as well as he does, but heading through, this is a replay. Oh, and that was, I'm not sure how to call that one. This is looking in front here. You can see Ricky, the two cars made contact.
I think Ricky was trying to go down the pit straight, and Randy was trying to go in the pits.
I think so. So that really was rather unfortunate. I think it's just a kind of miscommunication between the two drivers. As Monster goes straight back up the inside and Ryan on the exit of the Degner curves towards the hairpin. But yeah, I'm sure Randy will have to be very vocal about that afterwards with the Irishman, because I think he'll feel that that was all the Caterham driver's fault, and it's tricky to call, but rather harsh incident.
Yeah, this is crucial, by the way, Scott, because TRL Monster fighting for the lead with Noble. Noble's still out, and he's made a mistake into the final chicane. I was going to say that Noble will probably be coming out quite a way ahead of TRL Monster now after this fight with Ryan, who probably, you know, isn't fighting for the top positions, and probably is going to be holding up Monster once Monster's tyres get up to temperature. But all this battling has enabled Noble to set, hopefully, for him at least, set a nice in-lap, a 2.9 second pit stop, so we'll see where he comes out. We've now got Contadins. We're going to see Noble to the right. No, not yet. So Contadins up into second place, having not stopped, and Fisi fan now into the pits for a fresh set of primes. The prime tyres lasting quite a long time round here once again, and looks like Monster has run wide, and he's losing lots of time. That's xMattyG now taking second position, or a net second position. Monster making a mistake into turn 1 after the pressure from Ryan, and now xMattyG has got ahead of Monster, and this is going to impact on the battle for the lead. Noble is probably going to be quite a few seconds up the road now, Scott.
Absolutely, and we're seeing that was actually a battle for effectively at the moment the race lead. That's the SE Racing team running wide through Dunlop curve, and allowing the Contadins to put the Ferrari into the top spot momentarily, but SE's probably going to come back here. We switch now to xMattyG, further bit round the lap, and he's now chasing after the two. Now this is Ryan 83, of course, who's on those hard compound tyres. they have to run a little bit longer, but of course he's on those prime tyres as well, and have got them up to temperature pretty quickly, as Contadins now has SE Racing team all over the back of him. I think it's the highest SE's ever run in the race. He's definitely making the most of it, and the camera time he's getting, they're going to go side by side with the aid of DRS and a bit of curves. Williams is back into the lead, but the Contadins, for sure, there's something to say about that. He usually is one that can fight back pretty quickly, looking to try and get back up the inside. That approach to the outside line for the curves is Ryan going straight on the exit of the first curve, and Matty's coming, and so is Monster as well. He lets both cars pass, and I'm pretty sure they had to do that because, of course, if he rejoined, it could have been an unsafe rejoin and could have potentially caused quite a huge incident.
Yeah, he could have if he had not looked in his mirrors, so that was good driving from Ryan to understand that despite battling with Monster earlier, let's not try and battle with two cars that he's really not fighting for position in this race at least. Now xMattyG coming through Degner 1 and now 2. Very tricky under the brakes, and that's why we've seen so many mistakes from the drivers so far. He's nearly 4 seconds behind Noble, so Noble has got a gap that, you know, whenever Noble gets that kind of gap, we hardly ever see Noble lose it. So it's going to be very tricky for those two to catch up to Noble for the victory. And we've now got Ryan running wide and battling with F1 XCrookey, TRL Monster's teammate. So Ryan is not particularly wanting to let these drivers through, despite not really racing them. He's going to go side by side into Spoon. F1 XCrookey's probably not going to be appreciating that too much. And Ryan had to concede the place, otherwise there would have been another, well, potential monstrous incident.
Of course, those guys who passed him have just switched onto the prime tyre. Ryan's been running it for 10 laps, and of course they're going to be fairly worn anyway, but he won't be stopping to roughly around, I'd say, about lap 18 or so. So he's still got a little way to go on those tyres. As we now see his teammate Fisi on the rear wing of Trace B92, the bottom of that McLaren sparking along the ground. Fantastic sight to watch. You don't see that anymore on the 8. That used to be pretty common in the late 80s and early 90s, where they had the titanium skid plates on the bottom, and the cars used to run incredibly low in those days, and as an evocative shot of some of the cars running nose to tail with sparks flying from the rear of those cars. It's a shame we don't see it too much anymore. But again, as more sparks fly from Trace B, showing just how low he's running that car for ride height. And exiting the first curve now, back into standard mix 2. These guys love to play around with the fuel settings just to make sure they get the optimum amount of fuel usage, and make sure they kind of pretty much running on empty by the time they cross the line, which is usually see quite a few times. That with Noble, who has already caught up to Contadins and SE Racing. Pretty sure he'll make the move pretty soon as he goes down towards the hairpin, as SE running a little deep through that turn. Contadins takes the normal racing line, but Noble's got enough pace on these hard compound tyres, which these, of course, again, like Ryan, these two are running as well, but of course they've won them for about 10 laps, so Noble's a much fresher, and it's only going to be a matter of time before they, of course, have to pit, and he may even pass them on track also.
Yeah, Noble's going to have to try and dispose of them as quickly as possible, because I know he's got a gap to xMattyG and TRL Monster, but it's not that comfortable to be sitting behind Contadins and SE for too long, as we've now got Fisi challenging Trace B92 for 8th place, going round the outside into the Spoon, and that's a brilliant move from Fisi, who is driving brilliantly after those first few mistakes in the sort of early parts of the race. And we now cut to Noble, who also had some mistakes in the early part of the race, but he is net leading, and it looks like he may well try a move up the inside. Contadins is going to use most of his curves. Contadins pretty much not fighting the position at all, and Noble up into second, and the only other person he'll need to overtake at the moment is SE Racing Team. And he's down into lean mixture now, so he's going to save a little bit of fuel, but he can't save too much, as I'm sure xMattyG and Monster are pushing on hard, knowing that Noble is being held up right now. And we've now got Fisi and Trace battling once again. Trace with the DRS didn't manage to get the move done, but now Fisi running wide out of turn 1. And is Trace going to look around the outside? He's not going to, surely. No, he slots in behind, and Fisi still ahead in sector 1.
You're a brave man if you try it side by side through the S curves there. Again, it's kind of like the Degner curves here. There's only really one line you can really take that's optimum, and of course if you run it a little bit offline, because of the elevation changes through those kind of corners, it's going to throw you off into the gravel, and of course it's only going to make your heart race even harder. Now looking back at Noble, and he's of course in League Mix 1, as you said, just sitting behind SE Racing, back into standard Mix 2 now, saving a bit of fuel because he knows these two have got a pit. He's in the middle of both SE Racing and Contadins in second now. So of course he effectively can sort of sit there and wait for those two to pit, but of course the more if he gets too close he'll lose time. Speaking of losing time, Mazy running a little wide on the exit of the second Degner curve, but already Noble in the slipstream towards 130R, this fantastically fast right-hander. Of course, not a hint of a lift, I don't think. That's about 100 left-hander, sorry. 198 miles an hour. They're almost touching 200. That's a real driver's corner there. If you can take it flat, and now down the pit straight. Look at that, and just show how much straight line speed that Noble's got. Not even activated DRS yet, and already he's pulling alongside. Now he uses cursed DRS and gets the job done way before turn 1. Back in standard mix 2, and that move effectively was, as you said, pretty crucial. He could have sat behind SE Racing, but to get the job done and to gain even more time and to prevent the time loss from Monster, who just sets the fastest lap of the race, he needs to make that move done to have that clear track to set at the fastest lap times.
Yeah, he's lost 1.7 seconds to xMattyG though. The gap was down to 2.1 seconds as he came over the line. So it's going to be interesting to see how quickly xMattyG and Monster negotiate the Contadins and SE Racing team. They won't be pitting for another few laps, I wouldn't think. And we're now on board with xMattyG behind the Contadins, coming to Degner 1. And xMattyG pushing very hard indeed. A little bit too hard, he's running a little bit wide. Is Monster going to have a look? They're now coming towards the hairpin. Monster looking around the outside, surely not. xMattyG just about hitting the apex. Yeah, so he's covered off the line, and Monster's got nowhere to go, so he's going to have to stay in 5th place. And the more they battle, the more Noble is going to be getting away. As you can see on the minimap, Noble's pulled away from SE Racing team already, going into Spoon. You can just about see him on the camera angle with xMattyG running a little bit wide again, playing with the devil a little bit. But he's just about managed to get away with it, and may well be looking to try and get past Contadins. He's in rich fuel mixture, coming towards the DRS zone, but it looks like Contadins will get DRS on SE Racing team ahead as well. And as you can see, 9/10 down on his previous lap, so he is losing time in the dirty air behind the Ferrari.
Through the very tricky Casio triangle, back on board with Contadins. As SE dives in, he's had enough of those prime compound tyres and does in fact capitulate that 2nd place. So now over P2 for Matty with DRS and using pretty much almost all of his curves, about 3/4 of a bar. As Noble sets the fast lap again, that's exactly what he needs to do. As Matty taps the back of Contadins, and he very sportively waits for him to rejoin and get back on the racing line. But of course, that's going to put him under pressure from Monster. As here comes that's Trace past Fisi Fan. And can Trace get it stopped? A little bit offline, but he just about gets that McLaren anchored up to hold on to P7. So great move around the outside, a very bold one to make that move stick. Back now with Matty as they head down towards the Degner curves and finding the runoff area on the left hand side. Is Constant's going to run deep? Yes, he does over the AstroTurf. Slip a little bit more contact, but they're going to go side by side towards the hairpin, and Matty gets the job done. Slots in front just before the hairpin, and Monster's looking pretty racing. He's just made a bit of contact with the Ferrari also. Remember, the Sauber and the Ferrari, of course, running both the same engine. But the Sauber's that little bit faster in the straight line with a better setup, and of course Monster seems to be a faster driver up the inside for Spoon curve and gets the job done. So that was really crucial for both those guys. And guess what? Sauber Barbecue is back on once again. I'm
feeling pretty hungry, so let's pop the sausages on. So Monster's decided to give Contadins a little bit of a smoke. I'm sure he appreciates that, but with Monster being quite a lot faster, I'm sure Contadins won't have to struggle with that too much. And as you can see, after MattyG only having to negotiate Contadins in the end, but with the contact, it's now 4.5 seconds to Noble. So Noble has sort of rebuffered his lead, and he's got even more than he did before. So Noble looking very strong indeed with 11 laps to go. You've got TRL Monster, it's still within the DRS zone of xMattyG, so it's going to be interesting to see how that battle pans out, because those two level on points coming into this race. It's going to be very interesting to see how feisty those two get coming towards the end of the race, as we've now got Fisi fans still battling with Trace Me92. These two are having a great battle, and it seems like they're quite even on pace, because Trace had a pretty nice qualifying himself, qualifying in 6th place, only a little bit behind Fisi Fan. And I'm not too sure who that was behind Trace, but looked like he was quite feisty behind him. As we now cut to F1 X360 in the Sauber.
Trying to make a move up the Degner curves on the inside, of course, because that tight entry, it's very careful to try and make that line. There's only really one way he could take it again. Contadins uses the runoff on the exit of the Degner curves to try and stabilise the Ferrari, as now Crookie makes it both the Saubers up the inside of and past the Contadins as they head through. I'm just getting some information. Apparently, it was Monster in the pits. Apparently, so that's actually Williams of SE Racing behind Trophy 92. Here's the replay of the move that Crookie made on the Contadins. That's pretty straightforward.
That was actually quite a risky move, Scott, because he dipped his wheel onto the grass and he could have easily locked up and found himself in the sand. So that was a very gutsy move from Crookie, but he could see that he was losing quite a bit of time as Noble 2909 sets the fastest lap of a 35.1. He is not hanging around despite having a 4.5 second lead. And we've now got SE Racing Team. After that sort of instance in the first few laps, he is now fighting his way back on the option tyres. He's now up into 6th place. A brilliant drive from him, despite being sort of down the field at the start of the race, Scott.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, he started in the back of the field. And usually it's on certain circuits where you do see drivers, they kind of just take advantage of the kind of drivers that are making the mistakes, like Fisi Fan, like Ryan, just capitalising on that and being able to move up through the field rather efficiently. And it's all about, you know, there's a saying I heard once, effectively, if you're not there on the last lap, all the others count for nothing. So effectively, SE's doing a grand job to try and get himself to the end of that race and in a decent position too. So these guys really, they have to think about playing the long game. And of course, yes, they've got to try and make up time. Yes, they've got to try and make past guys for position. But of course, it's not the end of the world as Mazy finds the grass on the exit of Dunlop Curve. But of course, these guys, you can't win the race on the first lap. That's a given. Any racing driver should know that. So anyone trying to make any desperate moves in the opening couple of laps, if it doesn't pay off, you're going to be struggling for it, and you'll be paying the price for it for the remainder of the race. As Contadins heads into the pits for his one and only stop, he's going on to those option tyres, the soft compound, and on they go. And the pit stop is 2.9 seconds. Very well drilled pit stops and pit crews in these ARL League, wouldn't you say, Matty? Yeah,
very consistent indeed, so the drivers don't really have to worry about any sort of extended pit times unless they've lost a wing, and then they're in trouble with about a 5.5 second pit stop. As SE Racing Team showing that he has got the pace on those option tyres, doing a 35 flat, only a tenth faster than Noble on the primes, but he's not fighting Noble, and I'm sure that is a lot quicker than the drivers around him. So SE pushing on very hard indeed. And now xMattyG also pushing on very hard, 5.1 seconds behind Noble now, and he's coming under pressure from TRL Monster. It looks like Monster's going to have DRS, and with that amazingly fast Sauber as well, it looks like he's going to easily get past and go up into second place. Unless xMattyG wants to do a bit of shoo-me and stick him in the wall, but I don't think he's going to do that, as we're very fair indeed here. And Limitless, sorry, not Limitless, Monster. I'm still used to calling him Limitless, not a monster. Come on, man. But anyway, the Sauber Barbecue is now up into second place, and Noble smashing that fastest lap from SE with a 34.6.
Yeah, first man into the 34, so that's a pretty crucial lap time, of course, and he's ever extending that lead. And of course, the 25 points he scores if he makes it into the end of the race as the victor, of course, again, come very handy to putting him just that one step closer to taking the championship, because he's extremely close on points. If he stays where he is, he'll effectively have one hand on it, and it could be done maybe within the next couple of rounds if he's lucky. As here comes Ryan up the inside of ACR Jordan. Very prolific effect the DRS seems to have here at Suzuka, especially down the pit straight. We do seem to be seeing moves getting done almost about halfway down the pit straight if you stay close enough, as Matty still gets a face full of barbecued sausages in front of him from TRL Monster through 130R. I'm surprised you can see through that as he heads down towards the Casio Triangle, and now he's really getting a face full of smoke here, but hopefully he won't have to sit there much longer because he will have DRS. No more curves left, but he'll get that as he comes across the start and finish line right about now. DRS wide open, using up, let's see how much curves does he use, about 3/4. Monster getting defensive, but Matty's, that's not going to stop him trying to go round the outside. Monster's giving him room, he's giving enough of a car width, and he goes around the outside again. That's a similar move we saw him make on Ricky at the start, and a very bold pass there from Matty to take second place. So Torres is back into first and second, but I'm pretty sure if Monster stays close, and there's something to say about that.
Yeah, I think he will. I'm sure Monster will be wanting to repay the favour on the next lap, but xMattyG hanging it round the outside on second place, using a bit of curves out of the exit just to make sure that he got ahead of Monster. And now we've got another version, but it's the other way around. xMattyG in second, coming under pressure, running a little bit wide out of the last corner. Monster now probably going to fly past him with DRS. He's almost already alongside him, and DRS hasn't even been active yet. xMattyG not using any curves, so I think he's just going to sit behind him and try and just save that fuel for the crucial last few laps as Fisi Fan makes a mistake. It's not great to see, because Fisi has drove a brilliant race after those mistakes on the first few laps, and he's now lost a position to Trace, and Trace is going to get DRS as well, so he may well find about half a second or even more behind him going into turn one. And we've now come back to the battle for second. This is a very highly contested battle, because not only are they battling for second in the race, but they're also battling for second in the championship. xMattyG losing a little bit of time to Monster. Looks like he's in optimal, so trying to save a bit of fuel, and it's obviously not helping with all of that smoke in his face as well. As you can see there, optimal fuel loads as he's used quite a bit of fuel. He's locked up a little bit and almost run into the back of the Sauber driver. No contact though, and sorry, as I was just saying, xMattyG had to use quite a bit of fuel to catch up to Noble and Monster in the early parts of the race.
I think there's a third battle going on for Matty, so if you can actually see anything, because of course you probably get blinded by that smoke screen, and once again we go to it to see the extent of that glitch. It is a glitch, in fact. Of course, that's not engine smoke. In fact, it's just a glitch to make it look like as though there is a problem that happens online with these ARL League races, but there's nothing that really Monster can do about it, and nothing that Matty can do about it. It just stuck right in the flow of that smoke, but through 130R, staying in the slipstream, and the dirty air that comes with it. There's some 190 miles an hour again, down into the Casio triangle, and again spots the apexes right, then left, and then down back onto the pit straight again, and we're back to where we were a couple of laps ago with Matty. He'll have DRS and refill of KERS now, DRS wide open, as Noble sets a 34.6, only man so far I believe into the 34s in lap time. A little bit of KERS, but didn't use as much as he did last time, wasn't close enough as Fisi locks up again into the final chicane. He really is struggling on those tyres. He's been on them for quite a while, and he's really starting to feel the wear of those ones as Mazy chases after Jordan.
Yeah, I just want to quickly come back as Jordan runs into Degna 2 gravel trap. That is the favourite spot for the drivers. Maybe there's some sort of attractive lady over there, I don't know. They want to get a closer look as Mazy locks up into the hairpin. Another prime spot for mistakes, but I just wanted to come back to the smoking barbecue. Oh, that was good timing. And it's actually not a glitch. We found out that it is purely down to Monster downshifting too quickly. In qualifying, sort of towards the start of this this game, they didn't release a patch to, well, basically, but if you downshifted too quickly, your engine blew up. And now they've decided to replace that and allow you to downshift too quickly, but also give the car behind a face full of smoke and not give the car with the smoke any sort of problems in terms of straight line speed. So bit of a weird addition to the game, because you'd expect if you downshift down the gears too much for your car to explode, but no, that's not how Codemasters want to run it. And instead xMattyG is having to have another face full of smoke. I'm sure that this guy's going to have something wrong with his lungs towards the end of the season, because he's been following it for far too long for the last few races.
Well, I'm pretty sure that, yeah, trip to the doctors that will definitely be called on by the time he finishes at Suzuka, but we're going to be coughing and wheezing by the time he gets out of the car, and I'm not talking in Pokemon terms. Anyway, battle for 7th as Tracy goes wide, and it's happening again. A lot of drivers running wide at Degna 2s. We've talked about quite a lot through this race, and Fisi back into 6th position, but the question is he going to be able to brake in time to get itself stopped for the Casio triangle? Because the past couple of laps he's gone straight on and locked up those fronts on those fairly worn tyres as we go back to the Sauber smoke screen, and it's distracted Matty so much he's run wide at exactly the same place that Tracy just did back at the second Degna curve. So even he's fallen foul to that entry. Small lock up again from Matty on the inside as they negotiate the hairpin for the 25th time out of 27. So we're getting close right to the end of this race, as now back to the contadins on the back of Tracy, and he's paid the price for his mistakes. He's going to do it again. Contadins has a look. He's going to force him to run wide once more. No, Tracy's has a much better line through that occasion, but of course Tracy's now more focused on trying to get back past Fisi in front of him. Right on the hairpin they go, and Tracy running a more defensive line through there. It's going to compromise his exit back into Rich Mix 3. Contadins looking as though he wants to pass with just about 3 laps to go.
Yeah, Contadins on the grippier option tyres. He pitted quite late, so I'm sure his tyres are still in reasonably good shape. So he is going to be looking favourite to not only get 7th, but maybe even 6th with Fisi just ahead. Especially with Fisi making quite a few mistakes this race. So I'm sure Contadins will be smelling some nice points here today. And he's now going to go past Trace, not even before the DRS zone. Forget that, let's go towards 130R. And Contadins up into 7th, clears Trace easily with that full bar of KERS. Is he going to get DRS from Fisi with a late braking into the last chicane? I think he's just about going to miss out on DRS, so Trace may well be looking to get past him again, but Trace doesn't look that close with the option tyres of Contadins. Oh, he did get DRS, so Contadins, it says he's 1.009 seconds behind, which technically shouldn't be DRS, but the whatever system that gives DRS has decided no, Contadins can have DRS as well as faster tyres. So Contadins now with 2 laps to go is going to be looking to try and get past Fisi for 6th place. SE Racing Team up in 5th. A brilliant performance from him. xMattyG making another mistake, so looks like he has thrown away 2nd place, and the fight against TRL Monsters. The Monster may well be taking 2nd place in the championship after this race. It's going to be disappointing, but xMattyG I think will take 3rd place after starting in a lowly 8th place, as we're now on board with Fisi, who's managed to negotiate Degna 2 coming towards the very tricky hairpin.
I was going to say about the contadins, in fact, as we want to watch Ryan taking a lot of curve with the Degners, and again another driver falling foul to that exit of Degner 2. So it carries on, doesn't leave.
I think we're going to have to go and have a look down there, Degner 2, after the race, Scott, see if there's anything interesting down there.
Probably some oil or a marmoset or something down there to distract them. So it goes to the final lap. But back quickly to the contadins, I think the theory was he was just a fraction under a second when he got to the detection point. Because of course I think by the time he came across the line, he already got DRS anyway, but of course the gap had gone to just over a second when they came across the line, because of course the detection point and the start finish straight, I believe, are two different places. Feel free to correct me, Matty, on that one. But I think, of course, so Contadins got DRS, and of course he just fallen back to just over a second back by the time he got across the line. So there's the detection point just there, and of course the time between here, detection point, and across the line now, the gap had gone just over a second. That's why I think he got it. That's why it wasn't surprising as I probably thought it would have been. The Contadins now having a good look up the inside. This is the last lap. Now or never. Has to get it done. As Fisi runs wide, he's been forced wide by the Contadins. And when you go around the outside into the S's corner, he'll try it. And he's got the inside run. A beautiful forceful pass from Contadins up to P6. So Fisi fan, after starting P4, looks like he'll have to settle for at least, I think, 7th, maybe 6th if he can get this move done. But of course, we'll have to go back to the front in just a moment, because I can see on the mini-map, looks as though Noble is already up at the spoon curve. So I guess I can leave it to Massey to round him out. But it's been a fine race from Noble. Few mistakes, but we'll see him in a moment as Fisi fan continues to chase after Contadins. And yeah, great race so far. It looks as though Noble's going to take another race victory, and of course another step closer to another championship title.
Very close indeed. Coming around the last corner now. Noble 299 taking a very comprehensive victory after those few mistakes, allowing Monster to potentially have a go at him, but nope. Noble comes out on top once again, and he looks the favourite easily to win this championship. xMattyG looks like he was coming home in 3rd place, and the fight for 6th is still on. Here we go, xMattyG coming home in a reasonable 3rd place. I'm sure he'll take that, although, you know, he hit 2nd was potentially his without those mistakes at the end. We've now got Fisi fan following Contadins into the final chicane. Is there going to be any late braking manoeuvres? No, there isn't. He's too far behind. Contadins has got the grip on those option tyres, and unfortunately Fisi's going to have to settle for 7th despite qualifying in 4th place. Disappointing race for him after, you know, he had a reasonable few laps, but those mistakes at the start cost him dearly. Ryan sliding around the last corner. Who cares about grip? He doesn't need it. He's just going to do some sort of gymkhana around the final corner. He's going to do a bit of weaving as well. Ryan coming home for 2 points. I'm sure he'll take that after the amount of disconnections he's had. Mazy was that coming home for one final points position, sorry. And this is a replay of Fisi fan losing the position to Contadins. A great move.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that Contadins just had the grip and the confidence in that Ferrari just to stick it around the outside. And look at that. Parked it right in front of Fisi so he couldn't pass. This is Matty, and that's pretty much put the nail in the coffin for 2nd place. Had to settle for 3rd there as Matty's still making mistakes, but there once again is our winner, and he never gets tired of that, does he?
No, he doesn't. I think there's been a Toro Rosso win every single race so far this season. But let's round out the results after 27 laps. Noble 299 took the victory very easily, 8.6 seconds ahead of TRL Monster in 2nd place, fighting off xMattyG, who comes home in the final podium position. F1 XCrookie, 4th place for him, not a bad drive, 24 seconds back. SE Racing Team, a brilliant race from him in 5th after those few mistakes at the start. And Contadins, also a great result for him in 6th place. Fisi fan, a disappointing result as we have been speaking about after qualifying in 4th, finishing down in 7th, just ahead of TraceMe92. A great battle between those two, and he finishes in 8th. Ryan 83 sliding over the line in 9th, with Mazy CZ surprisingly coming home in 10th after a handful of mistakes. ACR Jordan unfortunately missing out on another point, with LC Speed Demon finishing in 12th. Ricky C down in 13th, unbelievable for him. Not sure what happened with him. Randy McScrandy did not finish after crashing into the wall. Big Shot Player did not start, alongside also iPro X Callum. And now moving over to the Drivers' Championship, Noble 299 looks well and truly as though he's wrapped this up, Scott.
Yep, looks all settled. The battle for 2nd, if we're mentioning level on points between xMattyG and TRL Limitless is only there. Matty's there because, of course, he's won races this season. Watch out for the fight for 7th to 10th, because there's 5 points in it, as you'll see. TraceMe92, F1 XCrookie 22 has moved up thanks to his result today. And as it switches over just a moment, there we go. Fisi fan and Contadins, 5 points separates those guys, very close. And also, watch the battle at the bottom for the relegation spots. We've got LC Speed Demon, SE Racing, Ryan 83 and iPro X Callum. The bottom 3 in the table are relegated down to the lower division. So we've got effectively ACR Jordan, unless he gets a fantastic result, is out of it. But Callum, Ryan, SE Racing and Speedium all fighting for survival. Still got a few more rounds to go. Constructors Championship, it's pretty much sorted really, isn't it? Toro Rosso with a runaway lead of 204 points from Sauber. And of course McLaren and Caterham battling it out. There's about 31 points in between them, 29 in fact I should say, excuse my maths. And Williams of course in there too, not far back. Marussia is going to struggle as well, and Ferrari have moved past Force India. So a few changes in the championship, but of course it's all no change much at the top with Noble.
No, there isn't at all. 214 points actually, the Toro Rosso gap, so I'm sure those Toro Rosso boys don't want to miss out on those 10 points. But anyway, I just want to apologise for saying earlier on in the race that xMattyG and Limitless Monster were on level points. I actually got a bit mixed up. They're now level on points, so let's see what happens in Korea next week. It's going to be a great race, I'm sure. It's a very tricky track. I'm sure a lot of the drivers will be practising hard for next week for the Korean Grand Prix. I'd like to say thank you very much, Scott, for commentating with me.
Not a problem. Pleasure as always. I'll see you guys in Korea.
We'll see you next week for the Korean Grand Prix. I hope you enjoyed it. It's been a great race. Thanks a lot. Goodbye.